Hey, good morning, guys. Yeah, very busy night for first responders. They responded to at least 6 water rescues last night, a majority of them happening here in South Austin. But I want to show you guys what we came across as we were driving down Congress Street. Take a look at this spillway. It just shows you a good idea of how much it rained last night. The street that I'm standing on was flooding, but not anymore. The intensity of the rainfall led to some minor flash flooding, and that happened at this crossing off of Congress in South Austin. A lot of the water has receded, and there still are a few or many streets closed, at least 34 street closures in the Austin area. That's what ATX Floods is reporting. So we just wanted to show you guys a live look of what we're seeing. We've been driving around seeing if any of those streets are still flooded. We came across this spillway just to show you how much it rained last night. I will have more on those water rescues coming up in the next half hour. Back to the studio. Hey, good morning, guys. Well, a lot of the streets that were flooding last night aren't flooding anymore, but we did come across this spillway. We wanted to show you guys kind of a live look to show just how much water and how much it rained last night. As Zach was telling me, a little more than 5 inches in some parts of Austin. We also mentioned in the earlier live shot how many rescues EMS responded to, but it was one specific incident that grabbed our attention. Around 7:30 last night, both Austin Fire and EMS responded to a call off of North Bluff Drive, and that's not too far from where we're at right now. The initial report said multiple people were in the water, and one was a child possibly being swept downstream. All people are now safe and accounted for, but then Austin Fire later clarified that the child was actually a 40-year-old man. It was a homeless man that fled the scene after being rescued by Austin police, who AFD says put themselves in grave danger to rescue this person. The homeless man was the only person found in the water. The rest of the people were at a camp, a homeless camp that was set up along the creek. And in all of those water rescues that first responders responded to last night, thankfully no injuries have been reported. Now back to the studio.
Jacqueline Sarkisian is standing by with a live look at the conditions this morning. Hey, Jacqueline.
Hey, good morning. Yeah, definitely a chilly start to our Friday morning, but we came over off of Mopac by Slaughter and Davis because we were seeing reports of some street flooding. However, it seems that those streets are back open, so this is kind of what we're seeing right now. Not a whole lot of action, but we do know that several streets were flooded last night from all that rain we got. We got a little more than 5 inches of rain in some parts of the Austin area. However, a lot of those streets, well, the water has receded, so they are back open. So once again, if you've been following us on social media, also watching on air, that area that was closed because of flooding, Davis and Slaughter off of North Mopac, is back open. The rain caused a very eventful night for EMS last night. A lot of first responders helping out people that were trapped in their cars. There were roughly at least 6 water rescues, but thankfully no one was injured. I'll have much more on that coming up in the next half hour. Back to you in the studio.
This morning, Jacqueline Sarkisian is in San Marcos. Jacqueline, how's the look out there?
Guys, well, we're seeing a lot more flooded streets in San Marcos than what we saw in the Austin area. Take a look behind me. This area is still shut down. This is one of 30 low water crossings throughout the Austin area. You can see there's a flood gauge here, and there's about 6 inches of water, and the water is moving pretty steadily down this street. There are barricades set up notifying cars to turn around. So a lot of people, it's causing quite the traffic buildup. I know you can't see a lot of cars from where I'm standing, but just over and beyond this water area, there are several cars turning around, finding a different way to get to their destination. So as I mentioned, 30 low water crossings still within the Austin area. That includes this area off of Old Bastrop Highway in San Marcos. A majority of the streets that flooded when we saw on Twitter and social media last night, well, the water has receded, but you can see this area still a lot of water and some flooding on the roadways. Now back to you in the studio.
Jacqueline Sarkisian joins us live this morning with more. Morning, Jacqueline.
Hey, good morning, guys. Yeah, I'm in San Marcos now off of Old Bastrop, east of State Highway 123. Right now, I'm standing about 6 inches of water. It's above my ankles, almost mid-calf right now. You've got this flood gauge just notifying people how much water is in this area. The current is pretty strong. It's moving quickly over this road into a creek. There's barricades set up notifying people not to go through this area. It is impassable, so just be very cautious. It could be a very dangerous situation when driving through here. So once again, I'm off of Old Bastrop Road just to give you an idea of where this is located. This is one of 30 low water crossings throughout our viewing area. We saw a lot of streets that were flooding last night, but a lot of that water has receded, but not in this area. So still about 6 inches high of water, and I'm going to have another live report coming up in 30 minutes. Reporting live in San Marcos this morning, Jacqueline Sarkeesian, Fox 7 Austin News.
Let's go out to Jacqueline Sarkeesian with more on the situation right now in San Marcos. Jacqueline?
Good morning, Dave. Yeah, definitely a very chilly start to our Friday morning. I'm in San Marcos now, just off of Old Bastrop Road, east of State Highway 123. I'm gauge measuring it out for me, but this road has been flooding for nearly 12 hours now. I'm sure it was much higher than what we're seeing, but the water has receded. We kind of been all throughout the Austin area making our way here to San Marcos because we know that a lot of streets were flooding once it started raining last night, but a lot of the streets have cleared up. There are still nearly 30 streets, low water crossings that are closed because of water on the roadways. I want to show you that this area is still shut down. Even though there are barricades set up, we have been seeing people kind of trying to drive through this area. And I know we say it over and over again, turn around, don't drown. We saw a resident come out here because he was worried the fence was knocked down and his cattle would get out. I asked him if he thought this was high. He goes, no, not really. I've seen it much higher. It's about 6 inches right now. And all it takes is 6 inches for water to reach the bottom of cars, causing drivers to lose control and stall. It takes about a foot of water to float most vehicles. If we double that, cars will be swept away. Austin Travis County EMS, Austin Fire, Austin Police responded to several water rescues last night. Thankfully, everyone was able to get out safely. So once again, if you're driving through this area, just be extremely cautious because there is still a lot of flooding on this roadway. Now back to you in studio.
Jacqueline Sarkeesian joins us live in San Marcos with more on that. Jacqueline.
Hey, good morning, Amanda. Yeah, we're in San Marcos now off of Old Bastrop Road, just east of State Highway 123. This is still closed from the flooding and all the rain that we got overnight. We know that there's still about 29 low water crossings throughout our viewing area. I'm in the more shallow end of this area. You can see it's still flooding, and they have the gauge here to just notify us. It's about 6 inches high. That's the deepest point. So the water moving pretty steadily, the current going into the creek area over here. We know that first responders had quite the busy night, Austin Fire assisting as well as Austin Police. Several people were trapped inside of their cars, and thankfully no one was injured. There were several reports of streets flooded in the Austin area. We started in South Austin this morning. A lot of that water has receded, I'm sure, in this area too. It was much higher than what we're seeing right now, but this street has been flooding for nearly 12 hours now, and there's barricades set up on both sides, but people still are driving past those barricades, and then when they realize and when they see how much water is in this area and the streets are flooding, they're turning around. So just be extra cautious in this area. But thankfully, with all those water rescues, no one was injured. Now back to you in the studio.
So Jacqueline Sarkeesian is live in San Marcos with a look at how things are. Jacqueline.
Hey, good morning, guys. Yeah, I'm in San Marcos off of Old Bastrop Highway, just east of State Highway 123. When we first got here, the water was much higher. We had that flood gauge. It read about 6 inches, and the water definitely receding. We've seen it get a little lower on that flood gauge, but a lot of people tell us that live nearby, this area tends to flood when there is a lot of rain, so it's not that uncommon. There were several streets that started flooding last night. A lot of that water, though, has receded. Those streets are no longer flooded. We started our morning off in South Austin and made our way here because this area is still closed. There's nearly dozens of streets that are closed, and you know, all it takes for water to reach the bottom of most cars is 6 inches. So where it started in this area only takes about a foot of water to float most vehicles, and if we double that, cars will definitely be swept away. There are barricades on both sides of this road notifying people not to drive through, but people are still ignoring it. So just be extremely extremely cautious. We know that first responders were called out to several water rescues last night, but thankfully everyone was rescued safely and no reported injuries. Back to you.